Welcome to the deep dive. If you're here to understand the real machinery behind patent law, you are definitely in the right place. Today we're continuing our journey through the Manual of Patent Examining Procedure, the MPEP, and we're stepping into some pretty high-stakes territory, Chapter 2300.
We really are. This chapter covers interference and derivation proceedings. I mean, this is where inventors clash, claiming someone else stole their idea or that they were the first to invent.
And we're zeroing in on one very specific, very critical moment. We're looking at MPP Section 2312, which is all about when the big decision maker, the Patent Trial and Appeal Board, or PTD, steps in and just takes control.
That's the core question, isn't it? You've got an examiner just doing their job, and then suddenly a major dispute erupts. A petition gets filed. So when exactly does that handoff happen? When does the PTAB officially get jurisdiction? And, what does that mean for everything else that was going on with that patent application?
Right, that transfer of power is the crux of it. So our mission today is to unpack those rules and figure out what that power shift really means for everyone involved, the applicant, the examiner, everyone.
Okay, so to set the stage, Chapter 2300 is really the battleground for these complex, multi-party disputes. We're mainly talking about derivation proceedings, which is when one inventor says, hey, that person stole my invention.
And these proceedings aren't just for standard patent applications, right? They can pull in all sorts of different files.
Exactly. When the MPP talks about an involved file, that could be a brand new application, sure. But it could also be a reissue application, where someone's trying to fix an issued patent, or even a patent that's already out in the world but is undergoing reexamination.
That brings up a huge question about efficiency. I mean, if the PTA, which is basically the USPTO's court, is about to decide who the real inventor is, why would an examiner keep wasting time on the basic examination?
And that's the key strategic point. The MTP sets a really high bar here. It says an examiner should, and I'm quoting, rarely suggest an interference until the examination on all other issues is basically done.
Done. What does done mean in this context?
It means every single claim has to be either allowed, finally rejected, or canceled. Any other appeals or petitions about the basics, like, is this even a patentable invention? All of that needs to be settled first.
Okay, so let's unpack that. The USPTO is pretty much saying, clean up your house completely before you bring your fight to us.
That's a great way to put it. It saves the PT judges from wasting months figuring out who invented Claim 1, only for Claim 1 to get thrown out later for being obvious. The system forces the administrative work to happen first.
So then, how does one of these cases actually get started?
Well, it can be voluntary. An applicant can suggest it themselves if they know there's a conflict out there. But if they don't, the examiner eventually has to flag it.
And they don't just do that on their own, I take it.
No, it's a very structured process. The examiner has to work with an interference practice specialist, an IPS, to package everything up and formally suggest the case to the board. It's all very deliberate.
That makes sense. So the groundwork has to be laid. Now let's talk about the authority here. The Patent Trial and Appeal Board. Who or what is the PTAB, and why does this rule give them such immediate sweeping power?
The PTA is the USPTO's judicial arm for these kinds of disputes. And while, technically the board includes top officials like the director, for our purposes, we're talking about the administrative patent judges. They sit on panels and they adjudicate these cases.
They're the court, essentially.
They are the court of first resort for this. The examiner's job is administrative checking claims against prior art. The PTAB's job is judicial solving a factual fight between two parties.
And the trigger for them taking over is crystal clear. It happens the second the board formally initiates a contested case.
That's the flashpoint. The moment they do that, the administrative work has to stop, period. And that brings us right to the core of MPE 2312, the transfer of jurisdiction.
Okay, so let's get specific.
Here.
The board initiates the case. What happens procedurally in that instant? What can the examiner no longer do?
The impact is total. MPEP 2307 is absolute on this. Once the board takes jurisdiction, all other proceedings for that file are suspended, full stop, unless the board specifically says otherwise.
So it's an immediate freeze on that file.
It is. The examiner may not act, and this is critical. They can't issue a new office action, for instance, even if they just found some amazing new prior art.
Can't enter amendments from the applicant.
Nope. Can't do that. Can't even accept the issue fee and move the case to allowance, even if it was, 99% of the way there.
It's all about creating a clean division of labor. If the examiner kept working, they could make the PTA's job irrelevant, or worse, create conflicting decisions.
Exactly. Imagine the chaos. The PTI spends a year on a derivation case over Claim 5, and then the examiner, working on their own, decides Claim 5 is invalid anyway.
It would be a procedural nightmare.
A total nightmare. So MPP 2312 prevents that. The examiner's hands are completely tied until the PTA finishes its work and formally hands jurisdiction back.
And this procedural pause, it has some interesting ripple effects across the whole patent system, doesn't it? It connects to bigger issues.
It absolutely does. A great example is patent term adjustment, or PTA. That's how applicants get compensated for delays caused by the PTO.
Okay.
Well, the rules for PTA explicitly account for delays from derivation proceedings. The system itself recognizes that these fights are a valid and, frankly, unavoidable reason to hit the pause button.
So the applicant gets that time back, essentially.
Yeah.
The system says, yes, your file was frozen for a good reason, so you won't be penalized for that time.
Precisely. And you see similar logic elsewhere. For example, if a reissue application gets pulled into one of these proceedings, you can petition to put a hold on other parallel proceedings, like an ex parte reexamination. It all points to the same principle.
Which is that once the PTT steps in, they have supreme authority.
Right. The administrative work stops so the board can focus on the big question. Who is the rightful inventor?
Yeah.
It's about fairness and consistency in the most serious disputes the office ever handles.
So we've seen that the board takes swift, total control the moment a contestant case begins, and that freezes the examiner's work until the dispute is resolved.
And that takes us back to that high bar we talked about at the beginning, the fact that all the basic patentability issues have to be sorted out before an interference is declared.
Right. That forces a big strategic choice on the applicant.
It does. Think about it. If you suspect a conflict, you're now motivated to get your examination done as cleanly and quickly as possible. You might tell your examiner, let's resolve these issues now, because you know the minute you suggest the interference, everything stops. It forces a certain kind of focus.
That's a really fascinating look at the tactical pressure the MPP creates. So to sum it all up, the PTAB, our panel of judges, takes complete control of a file when a contestant case starts, tying the examiner's hands until the priority fight is over.
Now, here's a final thought to chew on. We know the rule says the examiner should generally finish first, but the rule also says the PTAB can assume jurisdiction at any time. So what kind of situation, what kind of severe allegation of theft or derivation might be so urgent that it would justify the board breaking that normal procedure and stepping in to take control immediately?
Something to definitely mull over. And before we go, a special thank you to Mike Shepard, the creative director who organized this entire audio series.
And as always, the necessary disclaimer. This summary of the MPEP was generated using AI tools and is for general educational and informational purposes only. It is not legal advice. For any authoritative guidance, please consult the official MPEP, a qualified instructor, or a registered patent practitioner.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.